Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences, raw conversations, one destination for it all. E360 TV.
Welcome everyone to my Bulletproof Marriages TV show on the Trajectory TV network. If you are married, in a relationship, single, engaged, dating, or divorced, or in an entanglement, stay locked. We have solutions for you.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's get it.
Hey babe.
Yes, ma'am.
What do most men want in a woman?
Realness, authenticity, a woman that's intelligent, that...
I'm not sure I understand it, but everything seems brighter now than before. I don't know why I feel this way, but every time I hear your name.
Put that foot down now, that's awesome. All right, done. You get twisted. That is.
It's all because of you. I feel the way I do. You make my dreams come true, yeah. It's all because of you.
Look at this fine thing at work.
And I don't fall in love so easily, 'cause I don't wear my heart up on my sleeve. Yeah. I don't know if you feel the same, but every time I hear.
All right. Remember, being the best version of you is doing what's best for you in the present moment, leading you into your present self.
So we're not doing a mail call today because let me tell you something. We have an all-star in the building for you. Today's going to be a little different. You know, you're used to having a relationship coach on here talking about how to make your relationship better. But I think that this is also going to help you in your relationships. Create some resiliency. This story is phenomenal. And so I'm going to actually stop talking because I want him to be on here talking. Today we have Alex Pereira, and I'm telling you, you have a show in store for you. So let's everybody give a warm welcome to Jose. If I can.
Hello, how are you? How are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh. Hi. Everything is delayed, and there we go.
Okay, thank you for having me. Thank you for
All right. Yes.
No, it's an honor that you're on here with us. Thank you so much. I can't wait for everybody to hear your story.
Thank you. Thank you.
I
Thank you.
think there's so you know I didn't want to, like I told you before we went live, I don't want to get into the background of who you are, because there's no one better to tell who you are and all the things you've kind of been through than you. So we know that, and if the listeners don't know what Sitco 6 is, they can of course Google it and we'll get into it. But what was life like prior to these events happening?
Well, before this event happened, I had what I call my perfect life. I did a long career in the oil and gas, and Citgo Petroleum is an oil and gas company. It's a Houston-based oil and gas. I live in Houston, and I did my career before in PDVSA in Venezuela. I'm Venezuelan born. PDVSA is the national oil company of Venezuela. It's the owner of Citgo Petroleum. So I did my 35-year career combined between PDVSA and Citgo. And at the end of my career, I was the CEO of the company. So I was having, let's say, a
Oh,
professional life. By that time, I had 32 years of married. Had a wonderful career, wonderful wife, and I was ready to get retired when this situation happened to me. So that was my previous life.
yeah. So okay, for those who aren't privy to Sitgo 6 and that whole incident, walk us through what took place, because you already said you had a long career, you're used to being in Venezuela. Like, what was the breakdown? What took place for all of a sudden things to kind of go sideways and them detain you?
Well, you had to go back to 2017. This situation happened 6 years ago. I was, as I said, the president of the company by the time, and they were having some political tensions between the U.S. and Venezuela. The president that was in that moment was Trump, and he really was trying to push hard to take out those bad guys that had taken that country. It's a communist regime, so he was really fighting hard for that. And he decided, the U.S. government decided to begin to impose sanctions to the country and to the regime, very similar that happened with Russia during the Ukraine right now. Very similar. They did an oil ban. They did a sanction to the people and to the country, and the situation began to go very bad. And I was not involved because I was not a politician, but I was working in a company that belonged to the Venezuelan country. So I told my wife, you know what? I don't like what is going on. I'm going to get retired. So I decided to go back and ask for my retirement because I had 35 years by that time. And I was ready to get retired. They accepted me getting retired. And I came back October 2017. And 1 month after, I received a phone call that they wanted me to go to attend a very urgent meeting in Caracas, in Venezuela. I didn't see nothing wrong because we were revamping a refinery by the moment. So I flew to Caracas. I was here in Houston. I was in a movie, by the way, that day. And I got that company plane, flew to Venezuela, and to attend the meeting. And the meeting resulted to be a settlement. I flew with my 5 top executives. And when we were there, they captured us with a counter military intelligence police of that country. Very scary, very scary. And they charged us we became with charge to become American spies. We became
Mhm.
to commit treason to the country, so embezzlement, corruption, and did a lot of charge. And that situation for us was back and forward lasted 5 years. We stayed 5 years being hosted during that situation.
Man.
5 years.
Yeah. So okay. So I can't imagine how scary that had to have been. Was How did they treat you when they apprehended you? Were they
Therefore, they were really bad.
Did they treat you with respect, or were you treated like a
No, not at all, not at all, because that we were not aware what was going on, but because the situation with the U.S. has become so tense, we became the political pawns of the situation. So they really wanted to give the message that they were taking us, capture us, and do bad things to us to leverage our negotiations. So the first year was really terrible. We went to a solitary confinement during almost 10 months. After that day,
Wow.
I stayed 10 months, disappeared during 10 months. And after 10 months, the situation begins to go so bad. We learned that they have expelled, that they recalled the U.S. ambassador. The situation went so bad that they recalled the U.S. ambassador. So we were literally left behind. So that what the U.S. government decided, because I also learned that our family began to get connected to the government since day one. So really, they begin to work and release since day one. So they were really pushing hard, and so they approved through the UN that some commission flew to Venezuela, and this guy, when they saw us 10 months after, they saw that we were really in bad condition. Our health was really in bad condition. I have already lost 100 pounds, and all my
wow?
colleagues were also. We were in a very very bad situation. We were almost ready to die, and they begin to do a lot of pressure, and then they allow us to begin to have food provided by our families. And so my eldest son had to move to Colombia. And from Colombia, he began to provide me food. And the other guys did the same with the families. Remember, we were six guys. And that's why we became the Silgo Six,
Right.
because that's the name the press decided to put us. We were six guys that worked with a company called Silgo Petroleum. So we came like a brand. We became the Silgo Six. And I heard the voice of my wife 10 months after. The first time I heard her voice was 10 months after.
Wow.
I was going to ask you, what was that first call like? Like the first time you heard her voice, was she, did she have so many questions to ask you? Did she have an understanding what was going on? Did anybody really explain to her? There's so many questions I can go into,
Okay.
but what was that first call like with your
Let me
wife?
tell you that call was a 1 minute call first. 1 minute. In 1 minute, you don't have too much time to talk, okay? So our call was very short and succinct, and was, I always remember, I got that phone because they told me, Mr. Pereira, you have 1 minute call. They gave me the phone. When I heard her, I said, how are you? And she told me, I'm fine. How are you? I said, I'm alive. And she told me, we're working hard with the US government to release. And I said, I'm doing my best to get back to my home. That was all the call. It was 1 minute. But
Oh,
that day, I discovered that they were working hard. And when after we begin to receive foods, like 2 months after, we were put all the six of us together. We were separated. I was in solitary confinement. So after 1 year, we were put together, and now we are receiving food. They begin to allow us to have books, and that's where I decided to begin to smuggle letters. I smuggled my first letter. I always remember because I have the letters. December 30, 2018, 1 year after. 1 year after my confinement, I took the decision to smuggle a letter because I wanted to get communication with my family. So we began to do it, and we kept doing it during 3 years. Every 2, 3 days, we were sending letters to her, and she was answering. And they never discovered the letters. I have the letters. There are almost 1,000 letters, and those letters became my memoir. It's
Wow.
going to be the book that's going to be out very soon, based on those.
So how did you get the letters? How did you smuggle these letters?
yeah.
Well, there was this guy that he was providing me because the logistic of the food was very complex. As I said, my son moved to Colombia. He was in Bogota in the border with Venezuela. So every week he provided a grocery. He did a weekly grocery. So he sent it to a guy, and the wife of that guy cooked me. And they send me the food every 3 days in the week, every Tuesday, every Thursday, every Saturday. So when I returned those trash cans to him to provide more food, in those trash cans, I did a double bottom, and there's where I begin to put the letters because he smuggled a pen and with an napkins of the food. I begin to take all every piece of paper that I found and begin to write there, and she began to write me back, and we stayed doing it. At some point it began to be very sophisticated because I began to have real paper, and those letters began to be more formal, and after some years, because to tell you the truth, in the beginning, my letters were only the testament because I really didn't knew if I was going to survive. So I wanted to at least have the legacy to my family that what happened there. That was my first real intention. But at some point, when I was more, aware about what was going on, the relation, all the negotiations that were going to get us released, we begin to be very high politics in all this stuff, all the press doing noise. So we begin to think more in really writing a book. Because for me happened something that for me today, there are two events that for me are really like the hands of God. One of them is that the first book that they provided to me was a book that marked my life. When I was a kid, I lost my dad. I had 15 years by that time. I read a book that was called Crime and Punishment from Fedor Dostoevsky.
Mm.
So that was the first book they provided me in jail. It's the same book. So when
Wow.
and to the audience that doesn't know, Fedor Dostoevsky was a very famous Russian opposition of the Tsar in 1980s, and he was in jail too, and he wrote his book in jail. So the way he wrote his book was when he was released, he had everything in his mind, and when he came out, he wrote his book like after 1 month. So I said, okay, God is telling me that I had to write my book. And the second book
Yeah.
that really marked me is that at some point, I was with a lot of opposition militaries of Venezuela with me. And one of these big militaries, a general, he gave me a book. And that book, he told me, read this book. This book is very interesting. It was a book from a guy that was a survivor of the concentration camp, that is Viktor Frankl, Men in the Search of a Meaning. So that book was telling me. So those two books were telling me you had to write your book. You had to write your
Yeah.
story, and that's the way I decided to more my letters become more kind of part of what's going to be my book in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, man, that's we were talking before we went live, and we talked about how when you're in these situations, you just have to do what you got to do,
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here trying to wrap my head around the first year,
Right.
you really not knowing what's going to happen to you, losing 100 pounds. I'm sure your mind was all over the place. How did you stay motivated? How did you keep yourself going and not quit on life, on your family, on the government? How did you just not throw up your arms?
Well, I can tell you the first months were terrible. I was having really very bad thoughts. I was even thinking to take my life because I didn't know. When we learned that the U.S. ambassador was expelled, recalled, I said, we're left behind. So I said, I'm going to stay here forever. And when I realized that we were really a political pawn and the charges were really serious, they were accusing us to be spies. I said, we are going to be left here behind. So I was thinking to take my life off. But, always comes those positive thoughts that I had my family, that I love my family. By that time, I had 32 years with my wife, and we had renewed our vows 2 years before. So I was married for a
Mm.
second time with her 2 years before. So I said, I need to come back to her. I need to come back to my family, and that's what made me keep me with a hope and I don't know, but I did it. I began to feel that I needed to come back really to my family. And that it gave me hope. And
Yeah.
after 1 year that we were put together with the other guys, that was a game changer because we began to cheer
Mhm.
at each other. We began to be real comrades, and we keep moving on. We created like I call a survival plan, and we stayed doing it during 4 years. The last 4 years, we were in survivor mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna ask like how when you guys got together and they allowed like were you guys in the same cell or how did that like or was it individual cells and then you got to be together during the day? Uh, I'm not familiar how their jail system is. I know in America, you have the main cell and then you have your individual cells. Was it something like that, or were you just in like a dorm setting altogether?
Well, the first 2 months was exactly as you said, separate cells, but we could gather together. But after some point, because the situation began to be very clearly that this guy wanted to leverage, so this they decided to
Yeah.
separate to the other inmates, and then we were put together, the six. We were in a very tiny place. It was like 100 square foot, but we were together, the six. We were in three bulk bed, the three of us, the six of us, sorry. And that's why we created this survivor plan. And by the way, people always ask me if we were friends. We were not friends. These guys were not my friends. We were colleagues. We were coworkers. We were not friends. Most of them was the first time I saw them. Our family didn't know each other. So for some circumstance, we were the six
Oh, wow.
together. But we learned several things we had in common. All of us had long-term marriage. All of us had long-term
Oh,
marriage. That was something very weird. Six guys with 30 plus years married. Very weird. Very weird.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was the
that
first thing
is different. Yeah.
we learned that all of us had 30 years, 31, 32, 33. So we were really long-term guys married. All of us had wonderful family, kids that love us, and we had a lot of things in common. A lot of things, and we
Mm,
all of us had successful careers. So we had a lot of things to
Mhm.
we were talking about families. We were talking about things together, our kids. We were all day talking on things, cheering us, talking about our trips, our memories, our food. So we were always thinking in good things
yeah.
because we had a lot of things to talk about. By the way, three of us were very big rock fans. So we were all the day talking about rock bands, the 60s and the 70s rock bands. We were all the day talking about that. So we had a lot of things in common. A lot of things in common.
I
Good.
love it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Are you all still really close now
Yeah,
to this day after all these?
of course.
Yeah.
In December, we got the surprise that we were called to the office of the mayor of Houston, and he did a proclamation. And now we have our official day here in Houston. Every December 19th is going to be the single six day here in the city, and that day we
Oh,
where all the families or their kids, everybody we were together. I'm very proud of them, and and all the support
yes.
system of the family was amazing.
Yeah. Okay. So you're going through this, and before we get to the release, I know that you were smuggling the letters. Did you talk to the other five about smuggling? Were they able to also communicate with their families in the same way, or were you the one?
Yeah, the answer is yes. I became like I was the DHL of the group. They were doing their letters, and because I already had the technique how to pass the letters, so I was providing the letters for the others too. So my wife, she received the letters of all of the guys, and she gave to them. So can you imagine every day that they were waiting for the letters? My wife was getting the letters, and by the way, she did never read the letter of the other. She respected that confidentiality. She only received it and gave to them. So yeah, we were doing it. Yeah, all of that at some point were writing letters.
I love it.
Oh,
We
wow. So for those 5 years,
reply of the letters, we read it, and then we shred it and destroy it. We never kept the letters, of course.
Right.
gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess those ladies, the wives, excuse me, for those 5 years got really close, and became I guess these
Like a little family,
let's say a
like a
little
little
family with
family.
the
Yeah.
kids, because during the time they had to, I guess, lean on each other during these moments.
Not only that, one of the two kids of my colleagues, Alexandra, and with the support of a lady called Amber that we are very close today, they created with a sister of a guy that was in Iran, because now at that point they are not alone. Now they are connected with the other Americans that are in other countries. So now they know there are people in Iran, in China, in Russia, and in Afghanistan. By the way, yesterday there was a sad news. There is a guy that was captured in Syria that died yesterday after 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
He died yesterday. I know his daughter, because I know all these people today. So we created, or our families got together, and they created a foundation called the Bring Our Family Home Campaign. So that is the way. So not only got together, they created a movement. They created a movement called the Bring Our Family Home
Yeah.
Campaign,
Yeah.
and they did something wonderful. They did in Georgetown, in Washington, a mural with our faces, with all the faces. And now there is another mural here in Houston. There is one in Denver. There is one in Arizona, because Brittany Griner, that she was part of the campaign, she created a mural.
Hmm.
She plays in Arizona, so she created a mural also there in Arizona. And this has become a movement. And now with all this happening in the Middle East, it's becoming bigger.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that that's really amazing. You speak of that movement, and it takes one to know one, and there's what you guys went through, and now that you're able to kind of pay it forward and help other families, other people that are going through similar situations. That's one is a blessing,
Hmm.
uh, but I'm sure that they look at this and they're just so thankful that they have someone who can understand and kind of help them take those steps through the situation that they're facing, because this can't be easy. I mean, for you, for the family, for everyone involved, this is high stress, a lot of uncertainty.
Hmm.
And so to have people like you, your wife, and the other families that are really giving back and helping, it's a blessing. And so I'm really thankful that you guys are doing that, and I'm proud that we're here with you guys, talking to you and being able to talk more about this. And I'm hoping that listeners get on board with this,
Yes,
and
shed some light.
yeah, and really support what you guys are doing, because this is needed. This kind of work is really, really needed.
Yeah, today I tell you that unfortunately there are some great foundations that are supporting all this family. I'm gonna name him here, because I'm supporting and working with them. There's a foundation called the James Foley Legacy Foundation, that is the mother of the journalist James Foley, that he was beheaded by ISIS 12 years ago. There is
Yeah.
a foundation called Hosted US. There is one called the Amer Fakouri Foundation that also works with that, based on the guy that died called Amer Fakouri. There is a one called the Hosted Aid Worldwide, the Richardson Center, and the Bring Our Family Home Campaign. All these foundations work together. They are connected. They are supporting families. I'm very connected to all of them today, and I'm very proud of that. And every time there's a hostage situation going, they call me. I gave my best advice. I talk with the families. I decided to create my coaching program based on that. And my book is going to be supporting even those foundations. Part of the proceeds of my book are going to be to support those foundations that they have done great supporting the hotel community. There is a very quiet work that people are not aware. And they need to support this, because at the end they're Americans kept in other countries.
Yeah,
You were
100%.
so right.
All right. So let yeah, we got to take a break. But when we come back, I would love to talk about the release,
Mhm.
how what that was like to finally embrace your wife and your family after 5 long years, and what that experience has impacted your life today. So we're gonna take a break, but then when we get back, we'll dive into all that stuff. So stay tuned, and we will be right.
Powerfully Symposium was created to provide a platform.
Right. Well, we are not taking a break because
But a short break.
yeah,
Exactly.
hey,
It was a break with our faces. There you go.
it wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't.
So, but all right, let's
Let's
just
go
get
into
into
it.
that. So,
Yes.
you know, when they worked all this out, and they told you that you guys were going to be released, my first question is, did you believe them, or did you think this was like a trap?
Well, our situation evolved, but as I said, our case was kind of the guinea pig of many things, and the all the pressure that the family did in the press was so big, and all the thing with the mural with the faces in Washington was, there was a lot of pressure. So at some point, the U.S. government took the decision to do direct negotiations. So 1 year before release, there was created an office called the Special Presidential Envoy for Hostage Affairs. He's an ambassador. His name is Roger Carton. He was appointed by Trump and he was ratified by Biden. So it's great that he's still in office. So this guy began to travel to Venezuela 1 year before our release, and he began to have direct conversation. We had a meeting with him 1 year before.
Oh wow.
In December 2021, we met 2 hours with him, and he told us, guys, I'm gonna take you back, but we need to negotiate. So he came back 3 months after, in March, and he said, my friends, we were here, now we're like here, but we're still not there. That day he took one guy. That day he released one of us. One of us was released that day in March. He came back in May, and he didn't release nobody, and that began to get weird. We said, okay, this is gonna be difficult talks. And then we found that when he came back, he could release a guy in Russia during the Russian war with Ukraine. He released
Yeah.
Trevor Reed. I don't know if you recall that guy, Trevor Reed. He could release Trevor Reed. So when we knew that he had released somebody in the middle of the war, we said, we're gonna go back.
Yeah.
We're back, and we're gonna go back before the elections.
How did they choose the first person from you all's group? Was it you guys, or was it just him picking it?
No, no. Well, I want to respect the privacy, but he was having a hard time with one of his kids, and we were
Mm.
really proud that he was taken. We already have been talking, the six of us, and we have decided that if somebody had to go first, he had to go. Everybody was really, really, really committed that he had to be the first. So and it was a difficult call because everybody wanted to come back.
Yeah.
So when Roger Carsten came with him that night, he in the morning met with all the families. He wanted to have the pulse. What was the feeling of the family? And everybody told him, "We're proud what you did. You did it great." So we were in that phase that everybody was supporting each other.
I love that.
Me too.
And we came back 9 months after. 9 months
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
How was it? How was your children dealing with this? I know you said you had your oldest and he actually moved over there to take care of you and help you from the outside, but you obviously had other children, and so did your, comrades. So how did their children? I know you just said one was going through a difficult time. I can't imagine what the rest of them were feeling during that time.
All of them were having issues because their children were so committed. all of them, that at some point they even begin to have problem with their couples, because they were so committed to bring their dads. That
Oh,
literally all of them put their life in pause. My
okay.
my son stayed for years taking care of me,
Wow.
and my other son was working with my wife, was supporting her, and my daughter was also too. So my three kids were literally all this time were supporting me. When I came back, they told me, "Hey, Dad, I'm done with you. I'm gonna move on."
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Oh, wow. So I just want to go in a little bit about your wife. I know we had talked before we started the show, but could you just tell everybody a little bit about what your wife was doing behind the scenes for these 5 years that you had no idea about, and just how the backbone that she is to you, and how much she took care of you, and not only the you but the other
yeah,
ones trying
and
to help
yeah.
out, and just everyone, right, starting the foundation to bring your family home, like just everything that your wife is doing. If you could just kind of give a little glimpse of what was happening, I appreciate that.
Well, that's very interesting because, as I said in the beginning of the interview, I wasn't ready to get retired. So that year, I told my wife, "Hey, let's open a small business." I decided to become a consultant, and she could have that small business. So we were thinking put a small bakery, and we put it a franchise, a French bakery, and we opened it in August 26th of 2017, 6 months before my situation. And that day hit it Harvey here in Houston, the Hurricane Harvey. Our store got flooded. So we had to rebuild it, and we reopened it in October. And my situation happened in November. So she only had 1 month with the store open when my situation happened. And she stayed during 5 years. That was my plan B, became my plan A, B, C, D, E, and all the plans, because that was all my thing. And she kept doing that, not only supporting me financially with all the logistic, all the emotional support. And
Mhm.
she went 2 times to the White House. She went to the Congress, I don't know how much time. They were all over the press with the journalists. They did a big bust, a big pressure campaign. And my family and all the families, all of them, I can say it's not only my family, the six family did it totally great, totally great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, that I mean, I it speaks to your family, how they worked together to help you, worked with each other, never gave up, because just like you had to stay in the fight mentally and keep yourself motivated to get back, they also had to do the same thing.
Mhm.
They and so I love the family dynamic that you all have. I love how you guys work together to overcome such a hard
Yeah.
situation. I think a lot of times families,
It's difficult to show, but I'm gonna show. I have this band that in my hand that I don't
yeah,
know. Is the
yeah,
single coalition
Yep.
has here, never give up.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I
So
love it.
this was created by our families. I have it in here. So, because that is a testament what they did. They never gave up.
Yeah, yeah, and I think a lot of times we give up way too soon. In our relationships
Hmm.
and just life in general, right? And one of the things I learned in the military is that when you feel like you want to give up, you have a lot more in you to give. And it sounds like you and your family, and even your colleagues' families, and your colleagues, that you all had to dig deep and find that extra that was within you, and tap into that. And so I love this story. Let me ask you this: when you get back, having such a traumatic situation, how does that affect how you are today? Do you have flashbacks? Has it helped your relationship get stronger, or is there, things that you're still having to work through because of that time spent?
Well, when I came back, and you come from the military. We headed to a military installation here in San Antonio,
Mm.
and there's a PTSD program called PISA, PISA, PISA. That's the one they do for the prisoner of war and the missing in action. We went to that program. I stayed in the PISA program. Then I went to a large medical installation in North Carolina called WakeMed, specialized in trauma, a trauma
Yeah.
center. I have a weekly therapist that by the way, is part of the hosted U.S. support team. They attend me every Thursday. So I went through a lot of PTSD events at the beginning, but part of my healing process and my therapist today, we're very friends. We really became friends,
Yeah.
and even I did an audio room with her in LinkedIn. Well, I was coaching her now.
That's funny.
And she tells me always that part of my healing process has been talking, verbalizing this, speaking and reading and coaching and talking, because this has been part of the way I decided to heal. Because every time I help others, I motivate others. That is like a
Yeah.
feedback that it's a joy. It's a joy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
I
Like
love that too.
it's funny that you said that about the therapist because
Thinking of-
yeah,
yeah.
so I had PTSD and I had to do the same thing. I had to get a therapist, and for whoever's listening, you have two men saying that they got therapists to get help. There's nothing wrong with it. Go
Wrong,
get the help.
wrong.
But I became friends
Yeah.
with my therapist, and now I meet and we don't even talk about like trauma. We just sit there and talk about what's going on in life,
Well,
you know?
no, the same with me. I enjoy every Thursday with my therapist, best friends, and now we even we're talking to do things together in the future. Now
Yes.
Yeah.
we're friends, maybe partners.
Right.
Right.
Same thing. Yeah, they're buddies. They just talk. It's like two men getting together having coffee.
We're
Just
I met him in person in Washington 2 weeks ago. I had a dinner in Austin the other day with my wife because she lives in Austin. So we really connected. We're really good friends now.
Yeah.
that's
I love
I
it.
love it.
Uh
How's your wife today dealing with everything? I know she's got the rest
the
the
bakery.
bakery, and then now you got the, because your children are adults obviously,
Yeah.
so you have your adult children, and now you guys are just kind of like helping out as much as possible of all the different organizations. How is she feeling today with you
Well,
being back? Everything's good.
church. She's very connected with her church. We both are connected with her church, but she's very connected today. She's not here because she's having a full day church service today. There's a program called the Art of Giving that she's part of that. We were yesterday. We are in a program of the senior citizens called the Golden Heart. That are part of it. So we are really connected with our church, doing activities with the church and our pastors, and I'm even doing a training to be part of the leadership team of the church. So we're really connected with the church today, but she's super connected with the church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've noticed in my own life is that all the hard things that I faced, the things that have, been in my life that I didn't see how it could ever benefit me, I didn't understand why it was happening to me, turned out to be some of the best things for me. Like they just made me next level strong in here and in here. And do you feel that this situation is something like that in your own life and in your relationship with your wife? I would love to hear your opinion on this, because a lot of people use the things that happen to us as an excuse to not grow. Uh, but I know from my experience, it can have the opposite effect.
Oh, totally agree with you. By the way, today as I said, being part of my church today, it opened my eyes because now I can see that there's a real master plan of God for you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You don't see it, you don't see the things coming, but when you see the picture and you see the mirror and you see back, you say, okay, this situation, I had to go through this to be today here. And
Yes.
And that's the way you have to look things in life.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is the way you have to look things in life. I'm not gonna say that I'm glad that I went through this situation because nobody can be glad, but I'm glad that I could learn from the situation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is the difference.
No, I love that. I do. We say that weekly that people, if people would understand that, like the challenges in life are just lessons. They're lessons to teach you something at all times. And it's just God's way of teaching you another lesson. And it's hard in that moment for sure. Like we always say that like his motorcycle accident, that was not easy to go through. But the lesson that we learned from that, the how to just be grateful for life, be grateful for the
Yeah.
small things, be
Oh,
grateful for your family, be grateful for just waking up. Like that is what we were taught. And if people would catch that, I love how like you said, you guys celebrated 30 years, then you were about to retire, you guys opened up this bakery, then had the
Yeah.
flood,
Then it
and
floods.
then next thing you know, you say, okay, we're gonna reopen, we're gonna get it started. And now life just the challenge of life hit even harder with 5 years having to go through this. And yet look at you now, you guys are stronger than ever, and your children are strong, your children have examples, right, of now staying committed in a relationship when the hard time really hits. Like we are separated, and so many people nowadays can't even say that, they can't even stay committed for 5 years. They can't stay, you have so many wives leaving husbands in the military because they say, oh, this is just too long. You're gone too long.
Yeah.
This is his career, this is his job, this is what he has to do. And so I commend you, I commend your wife, I
Yeah.
commend your children.
Yes.
Okay, not only you but the others for just hanging in there and just being the example that we all need today to be able to push through those hard times, because they're just not going to stop, but it will help us evolve. So thank you.
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
small things in life, as you said. Now I appreciate that small things in life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's so powerful. That's why I don't think until you've gone through something like this, you really don't understand why the small things are so important. It goes over our heads, I think, until you're in a situation where your life is on the line, where you don't know what tomorrow is going to look like, and the comforts that we were so used to are gone. When you get some of that back, I mean, every little thing is precious. And so, yeah, it's I love that you said it. I love that you're here and you're preaching. Um, so let me ask you this: for those listening, what would you tell them about you know what you know now about life, about hardship, about pushing through? What's your message to those who are listening?
Well, my message is very simple: that anything in life you can survive it, but you need to have that positive mindset. You need to have the mindset because it's a choice. It's a very personal choice. Sometimes you said that sometimes people go through bad things and say, "Hey, well, I'm done. I'm not gonna make it." This, and. So you create your own realities.
Yes.
Yes.
You create your own realities. The way
Hmm.
you think, the way you talk, create your reality. So,
Yes.
so that is so important, and people are not aware that the importance of what you think and what you say, and when you say and you think in a positive way, that will become your reality.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
and believe me, sometimes you go to. I went to an extreme situation, but at some point we managed to survive it.
Yeah.
We, we went through a lot of things,
Hmm.
but right there. And today, for me, it's like something that happened.
Yeah.
Mm.
Went through it. Period.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man. Yeah. That's powerful.
That is.
It is. Yeah. Um. So let me. All right. What's next for you? What do you have coming up? Because we're getting to the tail end of this, but I would love to know what you have in store, what you have planned in the future.
Well, as I said, I create my coaching program. My coaching program is called Life Pills for a Survivor Guide because we did a survivor plan during my captivity, and I discovered when I went to go to these trauma centers that this is something that you can use to unleash your powerful leadership spirit that you have inside. Because I did all my career leadership positions, so
Yeah.
now I help entrepreneurs with my coaching program. But I'm doing public speaking. I'm doing I'm being hired to speak. I have a motivational speech called "From Captivity to Freedom: Embracing Resilience with the Support of Love, Faith, and Hope." Because that's what we did.
Yeah.
That's what we did. And I wrote my book. My book is going to be out maybe in 2 weeks. It's called "From Hero to Villain: My True Story of the Sit Go Seek," because it's my story.
Yeah.
But not the story itself. I always talk that it's more the legacy of the story, that when the people read the book can understand the thing in life, you can survive anything,
Man.
no matter the way you face the things in life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I've learned as well. And I love that you're, echoing that and really helping people, because a lot of people need it. And I get it. I think you get it too. When you're in that situation, it's not easy. No one is saying it's easy to face hardship, whether that be in your marriage or at
And
work or anywhere in your life. It's not that it's easy, but with faith, with love, with perseverance and some resilience, you get on the other side. And like you said, you get to a point where it's just a thing that happened. It doesn't weigh you down. It actually motivated you and helped you step up in your life. So
it, it makes you be a better version of yourself. And
yeah,
you discover that God has never abandoned you. He was shaping you, He was forging you, He was making you go through situations to become a better version of yourself, and find your purpose in your life. That's something important.
Yeah.
man, yes,
You were so right.
yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of people don't know their purpose,
Hmm.
and that's a big reason why we go through a lot of the things that we go through as well. Is
Mhm.
because we don't know where we're supposed to be in life, so we take a lot of wrong turns
Hmm.
along the way. So I love that you're doing it. So I have your website scrolling down. Are there any other ways that people can reach you, connect with you?
Well, my website today, I refreshed it. It's very cool because I have all my stuff. You have it in my website. You can find there my coaching. You can find there my speaking. You can find there my book.
Okay.
And by the way, I do a newsletter in LinkedIn. You can find it there too. You can subscribe. I have a newsletter every Sunday. Today, I did it. And I talk about leadership and resilience too. It's called Building Resilience, my newsletter. I'm very active in LinkedIn too. I do audio rooms and always trying to put the tone, set the tone to the people that anything in life you can survive. My therapist, as I said, I did a great program with her, how to navigate your own story. Wow, what's an amazing program I did with her because she's a specialist in trauma.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
I love it. I really do. I really appreciate
Me
you
too.
taking time out of your busy schedule and just, you know, sharing your story of resilience and hope and, everything that you, your wife and your kids have done and are still doing. I commend you. I am so honored that we got to meet you and really hear your story firsthand.
And I would like to just throw out for part two if we could have your wife come on.
Yeah, we would love
I,
that.
Just so that,
I'm gonna tell her. I'm gonna tell her. I'm encourage her to write her own book because
yes,
Yeah.
she has her own story. It's
she
all
does.
mine.
Yes, and that's why I would love for her to come back
Yeah.
on. Of course, with you, but I would love to have her come back on so that we could hear from her perspective of what she went through and persevered and, kept the motivation to keep going on and, just be loving. And like you said, keep a smile on her face when nobody knew what she was actually going through. So I would love to bring her back on with you for part two.
I
Yes.
don't talk for her, but she always says that what she did it because she loved me. So she did it because there was love.
That's the
Love.
best reason. That's
I
the
love
best
that.
reason. Yeah.
Me and my son, my older son, were talking about this morning how the greatest sacrifice was God giving his son Jesus, right, for us. And so it's like the same thing for your wife. Like, look what she did because she just loved you.
Yeah.
It's if you do everything in love, right? You do everything looking at love. Like, I'm going to do this even if I don't want to because I love you, or you can get through. You can get
Yes.
through anything. And I really believe that that's how Jesus was able to get through all that he did, because he just loved all of us. And he said, I love God, I love myself. So yes, I love that.
Well, look, we have to end this, but we're gonna send you to the backstage, and we'll talk to you in a few seconds. Hold
Okay.
on 1 second.
All right. Thank you all so much for joining us today on this show. Next week, we will be on with another enhancing relationship conversation on the E360 TV network at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are so grateful that Jose came and joined us and just shared his story. I can't wait to have him on for part 2 with his wife. And once again, thank you for all the listeners for just being there for us and just supporting us.
All
We'll
right.
see you next week, fam.
All right.
I'm not sure I understand it, but everything seems bright now.